Jim, our next question sent to CornyDriveThru at gmail.com from Wayne, Amelia Island, Florida. On a recent episode of the Drive-Thru, Jim mentioned that Scott Hall was under a personal services contract to Dusty Rhodes. What exactly is a personal services contract, and how common was it in pro wrestling?
Well, it kind of is what it sounds like, that you sign a contract with somebody that you will provide your personal services to them in some endeavor, form, or fashion. And you would do that on the theory that they're going to get you more work or more high profile work in your chosen field. And in this case, it was wrestling. And personal services contracts like that were more common in wrestling back in the 40s and 50s. You always hear in some of the historical stuff that like Tim Hornbaker or Steve Yohe or J. Michael Kenyon, Scott Teal, whoever has printed, you would hear that, well, Jack Pfeffer had so-and-so under contract and he got a percentage of his pay for wrestling, but in return, he'd get him booked for all these different promoters. Back when the territory systems were still forming, and, guys always went to promoters to themselves and asked to be booked, but in a lot of cases, guys like a Jack Pfeffer or Toots Mott or some of these other guys would contract a certain amount of wrestlers and book them out through their connections with all these different booking offices and promoters all across the country, and they'd take a percentage, whatever that percentage may be. But the theory was for the wrestler that this guy that knows all the promoters and can get them either on the long distance telephone back in those days or by telegram, he's got their ear, he can get me booked in bigger places for more money. And, then as the territory system kind of coalesced by the late 50s, early 60s, every territory had a booking office and a booker, and they brought guys in to work the roster of the whole territory. As we've talked before, even if there were local promoters in that territory, all those shows were still run under the auspices of the main promotion, and that's who would book guys for their whole territory. So then it started going out of favor. Maybe it was Jack Pfeffer the last guy to do that on a widespread basis in the 50s with the Fargos and those guys. What do you think, Brian?
I can't imagine he was the last one. I'm trying to think who else
one of the last
could have or would have done it. But yeah, I mean, that's
on any kind of widespread basis, because just like today's wrestling companies don't like agents. Early, Vince never did. Jim Ross didn't like dealing with Jim Ross now has the same agent that he used to have to deal with when he was vice president of talent relations. They didn't like to deal with agents. They didn't like to deal, in a lot of cases, with bookers like that were representing guys back in the old days. But nevertheless, at the time that Dusty, and I heard that it didn't last long, and I don't know if there was any guaranteed money changing hands from Dusty Rhodes to Scott Hall and Danny Spivey, only that they had agreed to sign with him because he was a booker in Florida and in Crockett, and he could get them booked and increase their profile. So that's theoretically what it was going to be. And then it just went blah.
Well, perhaps if a personal services contract didn't work out for you and you're trying to figure out what to do next with your career, maybe we could suggest a career in coding.
They're back, folks. Code Academy, one of our favorite sponsors, is back, and you've seen the news, you've seen the television programs. I can't say this. I'm not allowed to impart this information, but if I just were to hint or intimate that many of the people currently running the counter resistance over there in Ukraine, they're these code people. They know the codes. That's the way you run the world these days. And they're fighting back over there. If you want a career fighting Russians or communists or Sandinistas or any other type of
Sandinistas?
Sandinistas. They used to do something. Where is Saint-Denis?
Well, no, the Sandinistas were fighting the Contras.
Oh, well, where's Kant? Because the Contras were from Kant and the Sandinistas were from Saint Denis.
It was Nicaragua. What are you doing?
Hey, you can't say that word here on this program.
Will you move on?
What the hell's the matter with you?
Will you keep going? You're taking us down to a new level.
Anyway, down to a new level. Well, I'm glad I could submerge past our previous levels. Well, ladies and gentlemen, regardless of what government you want to overthrow, regardless of what space satellite that you'd like to hijack to send laser beams down to extort payments from world governments, whatever, you can do all that stuff if all you need to do is learn how to write that code, because code is running the world. The computers have taken over, and the people telling those computers what to do are going to be the ones that are in charge from now on. As soon as me and the rest of the Manson family comes out of the hole in the desert, the computer people will be running the world. And over 50 million people already know that Codecademy is the best way to learn to code. I've mentioned it before. I think they've smartened too many people up. They got to get rid of a few of these. Too many people in on the secrets. You've got to be one of them. Every time they get a new one, they got to off one of the old ones. So every time you sign up for Codecademy, well, the agents are going out to disappear one of the people that have already graduated. Anyway, we're living in a fast-changing world. You can disappear at the drop of a hat. So whether you're starting from scratch or looking to advance, Codecademy can help you reach your coding goals. You want to start out with a small country, maybe an island somewhere in the Pacific, or a small South American, banana republic, and then work your way up. And by the time it's over with, you'll be taking over China. You can learn at your own pace and get qualified for in-demand jobs. People are demanding these jobs. You can choose what to learn. Boy, if they'd have told me in school I could choose what to learn, things would have been a lot different. But you can go from building basic websites to artificial intelligence. And everybody needs more intelligence these days. If you can manufacture artificial intelligence, look at every goof walking down the street now and think, if I could just give him some kind of injection, maybe a turkey baster up the ass with 50 or 60 more IQ points, artificially boost his intelligence? Is this what they're doing with the artificial intelligence?
No, it's not what they're doing. That's not how IQ points are transferred. There's no transferring of IQ, and certainly not with a turkey baster up the ass. I don't know why you went there.
Well, how do they implant the
artificial intelligence? You said injection, and then you went right to insertion.
Well, insertion, injection, you say tomato, and I say get your hand off my knee. Anyway, you can learn the coding languages. Python, HTML, SWCL, JavaScript, and even Yugoslavian. Not sure where to begin? Codecademy will point you in the right direction. Turn around and get your ass out of here. If you don't know where to begin, you're undecided. We like people who know what they want. But you can take Codecademy's programming personality quiz and you'll get tailored career advice and course recommendations based on your strengths and interests. And once that you tell them all about you, they'll be able to hold that information over your head. And you can get instant feedback, like send me more money.
That's not the feedback.
That's the feedback I get usually most places.
From who?
Well, everybody I owe money to. You can build your portfolio and get a certificate of completion to make yourself more marketable to future employers. I would love to complete all over one of those certificates. Land your dream job in web development, programming, computer science, data science.
Why?
And tons more. I don't know. Join the over 50 million people learning to code with Codecademy and see where coding can take you. It took me away from here, but I came back. Get 15% off your Codecademy Pro membership when you go to codecademy.com and use the promo code EXPERIENCE. That's CODECADEMY.com. Codecademy.com. Promo code EXPERIENCE. You'll end up living on your own island somewhere in the South Pacific with a bunch of topless native women doing your every bidding.